So, if you didn't know, there was recently there's this thing. It's called the State of the Union Address, and it's something the president does every year, right about this time, in which he will get up in front of Congress and the judiciary and make a really prominent, propagandized stump speech about all the stuff he wants the government to do and get in line, essentially, is what it comes down to. And basically what it comes down to is that it's a prominent opportunity for the president to come along and basically preach to the choir of whoever's constituency is, tell them all kinds of things that they're gonna planned opportunities for them to stand up and applaud, and little kind of target moments where he'll throw out things that he knows his opponents are going to hate, specifically to jab at them, to try and provoke them into a vocal response to that. They'll usually trot out one or two different, whoever it is, military veterans, Doctors Without Borders, like different eras have had different hot button individuals where they'll be like, this is the kind of person that's a dreamer or a veteran on disability. This is the kind of person that is struggling to make it because they work 6 jobs at the same time and blah blah blah. Like, they always, they have their sacrificial lambs and they have their show ponies and the whole thing. It's basically just a big dog and pony show. Well, as a result of that event taking place, then you have the world, it has its responses to it, and so every single person that's in any way prominent in government has to now do their responses, because really what it is it's a very elaborate, about a, hour, 2 hours long stump speech for their following election, or the following electoral cycle. That's what it really is, what it boils down to. And so president, now that we're headed to 2020, there's all this of who is going to be running. People are already announcing that they are going to run as the Democratic or the Republican nominees and blah blah blah. And of course, in the wake of that, you always have these people like, our nation's more divided than ever. Well, I just want to sum up the simple fact that the state of our union, the United States of America, is a raging dumpster fire. We have a country now that a Virginia governor was caught back in medical school, not as a idiot high schooler, not as a stupid, ignorant child, but as a grown adult engaged in advanced education that was wearing either blackface or as a KKK member, as a costume. That's a thing that happened. And then a New York legislature bill that legalized late-term abortion. And a Supreme Court justice, confirmation proceedings that dragged a person's name through the mud on baseless and non-evidentiary allegations. And a woman, just a year ago-ish, a woman who, despite being the whitest bag of flour in the bakery section, or the baked ingredients section, claiming that she was trying to leverage minority association or minority status to get into a prestigious advanced education institution, despite clearly not being that Native American status. Clearly not being it. So, I mean, just our country is in a bad way. It's in bad shape. So, given the fact that literally everyone knows this, why do we need the president to come up and tell us? Because in the same way that it basically boils down to the same reason why a lot of people go to church on Sundays. To hear somebody get up, talk for a while about, honestly, things they don't even really care about. Subjects and topics they really don't even care about, so that they can go home. So basically, so they can check a box. Well, we did our civic duty by watching the State of the Union address or giving the State of the Union address, and now everything can go back to normal Monday. I'm just going to go back to work, and it's just going to be business as usual. Well, that way, and plus the idea that on my lunch break at work, it gives me fodder so that I can criticize the libtard people that I know, that I happen to be Facebook friends with, or that are my family members, and that's the only reason why I'm Facebook friends with them, or whatever. It gives me ammunition to fire at my adversaries, and it gives me an opportunity to feel pride in my nation, whatever. Well, fact is, if you look through the epistles of the New Testament, you're going to find several of lists that the authors are like, take care to avoid these specific things in your congregations. And in those lists, sexual deviation, which our nation is obsessed with now, and disunity are two of the main things. Like, don't let sexual deviation and do not allow disunity, factions, gossip to take root inside your congregations. Paul even tells Titus and Timothy of, like, get rid of people that even do that stuff. Do not allow them to have a platform in your church, because of the fact that, let's see, our nation is built off built on the very platform of division from the very oldest days of, you have the Federalists and the Anti-Federalists, and now the Democrats and the Republicans, conservatives and liberals. This whole thing, like, we were built off this idea that we were going to set up two primary prize fighters, and they're just going to duke it out, and there are cyclical saviors, essentially. We want to be divided. Our nation is built off the necessity of being divided. So even if people talk about, like, we need to be more unified or whatever, nobody actually wants that. Nobody wants to find common ground. Nobody wants to be in the moderate area, because if they were, they're going to take flack from both sides of being too conservative for the liberal parties and then being too liberal for the conservative party. So people don't want to be unified, especially when, in the instance of anyone who is of different color skin or different ethnic background, different economic status, different, like, anything that we can find to, like, well, they're just like that. We don't want to be unified. And the State of the Union is just another one of those lightning rod moments that is billed as being a galvanizing or a kind of a restructuring affect, something that's supposed to help unify our nation. It's not. It's just another opportunity for us to build a platform to divide ourselves all over again. And we fall for it every time, because it's part of human nature, is what I would say, going all the way back to the Tower of Babel, that anytime human race unifies, it's to destroy and harm and hurt. It's the thing that's so dangerous about, like, the Russian Communist Revolution or the fascist revolution in Germany, or, like, all these different things of that. They swept across this country and it unified the whole thing, galvanized it, and a lot of people, millions of people died as a result. But as long as people are divided, they won't necessarily, although they'll try. So it's something that just to consider. Do we? As maybe a question of the day or something, but it's something to consider. Do you really think that our nation wants to be unified as far as the rhetoric is concerned, individuals and whatever? Maybe they'll say that, but do we really? I don't think so. So, whatever. State of the Union is in shambles, is really what it comes down to.